Yo, what's up, YouTube? This is BoxingWave. Please, if you are new to the channel, subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button now. And please hit that like button, hit that thumbs up for me on your way in. All right. So we're gonna cover a few topics. This is gonna be another quick live. I'm just trying to stay on top of these boxing news coverage as at the best of my ability with the time that I have. And we're going to continue with that today. And I just want to go over a few topics that's been going on for the last couple of days. All right. Starting out with Paulie Malignaggi and Devin Haney. Okay. All right. So look, I've been speaking on Devin Haney a lot just past few days, obviously, because he had just won the rematch against George Kambosos the other day. All right. Shout out to everyone that's coming in. Thomas, what's up with you? Jay Roos, what's good with you? All right, this is going to be a quick live, guys. So Devin Haney, been talking about him a lot, basically because he won the fight the other day. And a lot of the talk, most of the talk is really about Lomachenko, okay? And you guys already heard, what I, felt about this fight. Like, I want to see the fight. I think at the beginning, or at least before the fight with George Kambosos too, I basically said, I don't know if Haney's going to make the weight or stay at 135 based on how he looked at the weigh. He basically went viral because of how he looked at the weigh. All right. But he won the fight. In fact, he won it in spectacular fashion. He looked even better than he did in the first fight. Okay. And, he proved, and that's what we want to see. We want to see improvement. It was actually a better quality fight. Okay. It wasn't like a classic or war or anything, but it was a solid fight, especially towards the end when things got, both of them really got a lot more aggressive in the end of the fight. So Devin Haney, he does an interview and he did a press conference. He basically said that he is willing to stay at 135 because there's a lot of money at 135. So even though most of us thought that 135 would probably be his last time fighting there against George Kambosos, he is saying that he is willing to stay at the division because there's a lot of money there. And I made a video and I went live about this a couple days ago. And I basically said, well, if you're talking money, right? If you're talking big money fights, who other than Tank and Lomachenko could he be talking about? Because he can't be talking about Teofimo Lopez because he's at 140. He can't be talking about Ryan Garcia because he's at 140. And even though I think Ryan would come back down to 135 to face Tank, maybe, I think that's the only kind of situation that Ryan would actually come back down. I don't think he would come back down for Haney. Ryan doesn't seem to be interested in Haney. And according to, rumors, because I don't want to even say reports, but according to sources, according to sources, there's a lot of sources going around basically saying that they are closing out and they're finishing up a deal for Tank and Ryan Garcia to fight. All right. I don't think it happened. I've said this since once they first started talking about it. I don't believe it happens. I never really believed it happened this soon. I think it happens, but just not right now. We'll see. Hopefully it happens. And, I would love for it to happen. I just don't believe it would happen. But going back to Lomachenko, the question was, will Devin Haney stay at 135 and fight Lomachenko? I know that was part of what the agreement that he made with Top Rank when signing with him, like the winner of the Kambosos Haney fight would be fighting Lomachenko. All right. Now Loma is going to be fighting next weekend against Jermaine Ortiz. Okay. So he has that fight. So it's just really been mainly like, is Haney going to take the fight or not? We want it. I know I want it because of all the bad blood. And just because, look, I like the division between the fans. I think the division is good if we're going to get the fight. It's not good if we don't get the fight. Like how Spence and Crawford is going. I'm going to speak on that a little bit later in the video. It's like you have this division, right, between fans, right? You got these two sides, and they're battling out like how they feel about the fighters. and this has been like a 2-year thing at least, right? So you got Lomachenko, who was much more accomplished, where Devin Haney's on the come up. He was his mandatory. We know what happened with franchise. We don't have to go through a whole history lesson with that. But being that the fans, right, and even in this case, like the journalists or the analysis, the analysts and stuff, they're divided. And if we have all this division and all these different opinions and views, and these two never fight, then what's the point? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are we talking about Spence and Crawford so much, and they may not even fight? Same thing with Joshua and Fury, or Joshua and Wilder and stuff like that. So, look, Paulie Malignaggi said on Pro Box podcast with Roy Jones Jr., sometimes with Antonio Tarver. Good podcast, by the way. My stance on Paulie Malignaggi, I like Paulie. As an analyst, I love Paulie. I think he is, in the last, 10 years or so, I think he has been one of the best analysts, boxing analysts. I'm just talking about pure boxing. I think he is one of the best out there, or he's been one of the best. All right. So I love him as an analyst. Now, when it comes to his personal views because he dips into a lot of different things. But he dips into a lot with politics. Like, I've seen him be a guest and he spoke on certain topics. And to be honest, I wasn't a fan of some of the things he said in on different podcasts and different shows or different interviews. Not only that, but when he has an issue with a fighter, he never lets it go. I noticed, like, with Manny Pacquiao and Paulie, for example. Paulie, and regardless of how you feel about Manny, because some of the things he said about Manny, I kind of agree with, but it's just that he keeps stabbing him in every opportunity. Anytime a guy like Manny Pacquiao, or anyone that he's criticized before, if Paulie's ever criticized you, it's like he usually don't like you. Like, once you hear it once, it's one thing, but he keeps going at it and he won't let it go. And the thing is, when Devin Haney made that statement about never losing to a white boy, and wouldn't letting a white boy beat him, it caused a rift with the boxer fans. You know what I'm saying? Because once race come into play, everybody gets crazy, and that's exactly what happened there. Now, at the same time, Paulie said something about how the European fighters, I don't want to quote him direct because I can't remember exactly what he said, but something about how the European or the Eastern European fighters were much more dominant than the black fighters. So he made some comment about being Eastern European fighters being superior, right? So look, that caused a lot of issues with a lot of black boxing fans, just like when it came to the Lomachenko comment with Devin Haney, it caused a lot of issues with the white boxing fans or Caucasian or whatever, right? So this is what has happened, and this happens with everybody. We already know how boxing fans are divided, a lot of people call it racism. I don't call it racism. I know you guys do. I think the word racism no longer has the same meaning. I believe that some of it could be prejudice and some of it could be racial bias. I've said this before. Racial bias is actually a real thing, where there's prejudice, which is a different thing, means you hate a specific group. Racism means you think you're superior than a specific group. They're all different meanings. Regardless, Paulie Malignaggi is basically doubling down on what he said previously, that if Devin Haney beats George Kambosos, that Devin Haney will duck Vasyl Lomachenko. And the problem with Paulie goes back to what I said about him and Manny Pacquiao. He's like this with other fighters too. If he says it and he criticizes you or he doesn't like you, he is going to stab and jab at you forever. It won't stop. So being that Paulie already made that statement, he's standing by what he said, because He said it, and he's committing to it. Whether it makes sense or not, he's committed to, I said it at this point because I predicted it, and I'm going to stand by what I said because this is what I said. Now, you're not looking. Now, my problem with what he said is you're not looking at the full picture. And you're already making a claim. You're not saying that Devin Haney is not going to fight him. You're saying that Devin Haney is ducking him by not fighting him, which you're creating a narrative because you're not telling the whole story. And if you are a casual, what's up, Boxing Gyms? If you shout out to everyone that's here. I'll see you guys in here. E-Class, David, Brandon, what's up with you guys? You're creating a narrative because if you might not be well informed, you would not even know that Devin Haney has already wanted to fight Lomachenko in the past, and he didn't get the opportunity. So when you say a man is ducking you, or a fighter is ducking another fighter, and you don't speak on that part, you're not telling the whole full story. You know what I'm saying? And look, I don't blame Loma for taking that other opportunity because I thought that opportunity was the better opportunity because he was shooting for undisputed. But again, that's the mix-up that the WBC created because you were never going to be undisputed anyway without that WBC strap that Haney had. All right? So Paulie, with the ducking part, he's going to commit to what he says because that's just the way Paulie works. If he says it, he commits to it. If he's wrong, there's no accountability. You just wrong. Like Paulie says it. Loma fans or Haney haters are going to ride with what he says because he said it. But if Haney fights Loma, there's no accountability to you being wrong. You know what Paulie's going to say? He's going to go on his podcast and say, well, yeah, I was wrong on that. I'm surprised. I'm surprised he's going to take the fight. And that's it. It's all done. This is why I dislike when people say stuff like that because they want to be able to predict something and make it seem like, because now if Devin doesn't fight Loma, it's because he's ducking him. Whereas maybe he lost interest in the fight. Maybe he doesn't want to make 135 for Loma. Maybe he wants to make it for Tank. Maybe the money, and I think the fight is going to happen. I'll get to that. I do think the fight is going to happen. But my point is, you already admitted to something, and you already know that there's a group of fans that's going to ride with you because they either love Loma or hate Haney or both. And that's not fair to Devin Haney. It's like you're attacking him and you're already calling him a duck without waiting. And I say this to you guys all of the time. Sometimes the fans, and I get it, we get excited. It's all hype. A lot of it I'm going to speak on. I'm going to definitely speak on it with Spence and Crawford. Boxing fans are you're so impatient. You don't want to wait for the outcome. You get a source, you get a report, or you see something on Twitter, and you react. And you don't want to see and wait and see what happens. How does this play out? You're already jumping to some sort of conclusion because you're basically creating a narrative or you're pushing a narrative that Haney is ducking Loma before he even does it. Now if Haney comes out and say, I don't want to think of a scenario that Haney might say that would make it a duck because I already said my stance on this, right? I already said my stance on this. I don't think Lomachenko ducked Haney. And I said this before because I wasn't upset at him going for Teofimo Lopez because at that time, Teo was a better fighter or had a better resume and he had an actual title. And I've always believed in unification over mandatories because it inches you closer to the undisputed. Now, if you're just ducking your mandatory and taking voluntaries, then I have an issue. But if you're unifying, I prefer the unification. So if Devin Haney was in Loma's position that period, I would have preferred that Devin Haney fought Teofimo Lopez over Lomachenko. It's the same thing with every situation, you know? So when it comes to Paulie Malignaggi, I like Paulie as an analyst. When it comes to everything else, not so much. All right. But it's like, why are you going out your way? What is it that, well, I know what it is, but why do you keep pressing the issue? Why don't you wait to see what the outcome is going to be before you get all of these fans riled up for nothing? I believe the fight happens. You know why? Because it's what they originally agreed on. I don't think Tank is going to take Haney. And I think that Bob is going to pay Haney a good amount of money like he just did with Shakur. Shakur purse was just like $3 million. I think he's going to give him a heavy amount of money to fight Lomachenko, and it's going to be work. It's going to work, and everybody's going to be happy. That's what I think is going to happen. And then all you people that are just shitting on him without even knowing what the outcome is going to be, or what the outcome, even if we get the outcome, what is the reasoning behind the outcome? No, people just want to jump and react. No, this happened. No, this, that. Like, yo, you don't even know if the fight is going to go down or not. I'll tell you one thing. I think we're close to the fight happening simply because the kid said, after we seen him getting weight trained, the kid said, there's money at 135. I still want to fight here. He said it out his own mouth. That was way better. That was a great answer. That's the answer we wanted to hear. I told y'all at that very moment, all we need is for the fight to make financial sense, and Haney will do it. Just like any other fight. It has to make financial sense, and Haney will do it. It was part of the agreement anyway. He'll take the fight. Boxing Gems. Shout out to Boxing Gems. You guys already know this is my guy right here. Please subscribe to his channel. You already know. You already know. All right. This is the film study guy right here. He says Paulie giving a prediction on a situation he doesn't control and fighters he doesn't have business with. It's ignorable. Yeah. I saw it yesterday and I saw everybody reacted to it. I wanted to really jump online, but I didn't have no time to jump online to react to it. But it's just like, yo, you're pushing something that, yo, it's, and then my problem is with this, when you have, you know, a lot of us respect Paulie because of his boxing knowledge. It's elite. You know, I mean, as a fighter, he was a good fighter. He was a very good fighter. But like, you know, I like him, but you know, sometimes he seems to get in his own way, man. And it's like, yo, what is your problem? What is your deal? You know, this, you going at somebody that's 23 years old, talking about he's 23 years old and is undisputed. And you're talking about him ducking someone that he tried to face in the past. You're talking about him ducking someone that he tried to face when he was 21 years old. What are you doing, Paulie? Like, you've never done that your whole career. You've never been there already your whole career. That's not a diss. That's facts. That's a fact. And he's fighting, like, people want to keep pushing, like, oh, he just beat George. He beat George again. Well, he didn't want to fight George again. He beat George the first time. He beat him better the second time. All right. You didn't give him credit when he beat Jorge Linares. You didn't give him credit when he went for Jojo Diaz. You know, people are not going to give him credit because he didn't fight certain fighters, but he's going into the ring and going face to face with Ryan. He's following Ryan Garcia around. He's following Teofimo Lopez around. All right. He's doing the same with Tank. He can't keep Tank out of his mouth. He's talking about all the right guys. They don't want to fight him. What is the reason? Like the hatred that people have for Devin Haney is unreal. But you know what I like about it? The one thing, and I'm going to end it with this. The one thing about this that I like with Haney and all of these people that keep just talking down on him and not giving him his credit is that it's keeping him hungry, because he still feels he got something to prove. I mean, I know he may not act like it in his interviews and stuff, but when people keep keeping you down and talking down on you, it's keeping you hungry. You know what I'm saying? Because no one is talking as if he's too big to take any fight. No one's talking about, not even his fans. And it's keeping us hungry. Like, as long as people keep downing him, not just people, not just fans, but the journalists, the analysts, the pound for pound lists, the boxing media, if they keep him, if they keep doubting him, it's gonna just keep pushing him to be better. So that is the one thing that's coming out of this that I think is good. All right. So I'm just gonna leave it at that, man. You know, I think there's nothing left to talk about. The only thing that we have is how Loma does next week against Ortiz, and then we can see if Bob and Haney and Loma can work something out, because I don't think Tank happens. All right, I do not believe the Tank fight happens. All right, I think they're gonna keep everything in house and work on what they originally agreed on. Okay, all right, so let's move on. Jared Anderson, my favorite upcoming, my favorite upcoming American heavyweight right now. He's going to be fighting Jerry Forrest on the undercard of Lopez and Pedraza. Okay, and I love this fight. I heard the news yesterday, and I'm happy, because I was waiting for Jared Anderson to step it up and fight someone that we are familiar with. And this is a good step up. Jerry Forrest has been in there with a lot of top contenders, a lot of them. All right, let me just pull up his record, because there's so many guys, and I see so many. He's been in there with Michael Hunter twice. The most recent one, a lot of people felt that he won against Michael Hunter in their last fight. He also had a draw against Zhilei Zhang, and a fight that I remember covering live. Zhang looked terrible in that fight, gassed out. Yes, he knocked him down a few times, but I remember Zhilei Zhang being gassed for the majority of the second half and almost looking like he was going to pass out. So yes, he started off quick against Jerry Forrest, but Forrest won more rounds to me, and they gave it a draw. All right, so he's been in there with Kubrat Pulev, who he lost to recently. All right, and it was a clear win. Pulev looked good, beat Jerry Forrest pretty easily. But these are all good fighters. He's been in there with Takam. He's been in there with Jermaine Franklin, who was going to be fighting Dillian White, the other American heavyweight prospect that I was just talking about. He's another top 5 American heavyweight. All right. Who else has he been in there? He's been in there with Gerald Washington. He's been in there with Michael Hunter. Yes, he lost most of these fights, but for Jared Anderson, it is a good fight. It is a good fight. What's up, Charles? What's good with you, Charles? Edward Cheese is in the building. All right. What's up with everyone that's coming in? Ferrari, Phil Booker. What's up, Star Fox? What's good with you? 1 foot out the door. Glenn R. What's up with all you guys? So yeah, I like this fight. And it's a solid fight for Teofimo Lopez. I haven't spoken on that, but I remember when I covered his last fight, I basically said that Pedraza was probably going to be a likely opponent for him next. Because to be honest, I know a lot of people wanted Barboza. All right, a lot of people want Barboza, and I thought the timing for Barboza is good, but I'm not mad, because I don't think Teo is still quite back yet. All right, it was a good win against a journeyman with a lot of power, but a guy that didn't box that well. I like that fight between Teofimo and Pedraza. It's cool. I think he needs at least another fight before we put him in there with somebody real. And Pedraza is real. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. But as far as power, I don't think Pedraza is that guy at 140. It's a safer fight for T.O., but it's still a good fight. And if T.O. is not on his A game, yes, he could get outboxed because Pedraza is a very good boxer. All right, but it's a fight that I am expecting T.O. to win. All right. But I don't feel like in that, like I said in that last fight, it was a good comeback win. It was good for him to be back in the ring and be dominant. But no, I am not going to be fighting watching in boxing tonight, unfortunately. One foot out the door. But I like the fight. Okay. So yeah, Anderson, I'm looking forward to that. And Forrest is a good opponent. And I think Anderson's gonna stop him. I think he's gonna try to show out and stop him. There's guys that struggled against Jerry Forrest recently. So for Anderson to go in there and dominate and really push the fight, it'll look good for him. You know what I'm saying? All right. So real quick, I just want to go over Spence and Crawford and just touch on a few things that I was just speaking on when it came to Paulie and Haney. Same thing. Look, I ain't been following the news like heavy like that. I did do some videos where I talked about it, but I'm not keeping y'all up to date with just Spence Crawford stuff because I told y'all I'm waiting for the announcement that the fight is either going to happen or it's not going to happen and these two are going to fight somewhere else. That's what I'm waiting for. The news of the day is basically, according to Boxing Scene, Crawford has not signed a contract, the revised contract, those requests that he made a few weeks back, because this is the thing, this is the order. The order is we heard that they agreed on our terms and that the fight was going to be in November. That's what we heard, like November 21st or something like that, right? That's what we heard. Not too long after that, we heard that, well, the PBC wasn't, the money was funny. There was things that Crawford wanted to know, there were no guarantees. We heard all of this stuff about how it looked bad for the PBC making a fight. I'm not going to go through the whole contract situation, but that's what the rumor that was going around. All right. And it kind of made Spence and the PBC look bad. Not really Spence, in my opinion. I didn't even think it was a Spence issue. It seemed like a PBC issue. It's like Crawford agreed to take a certain percentage, but there was still some money. There was no guarantee amount. There was all these issues. Right. So then everybody started going at Spence and everybody started going at the PBC about it. Now, today, according to Boxing Scene, the new news is Crawford, they revised the contract on the terms that or to the request that he had, and they revised it. Now, we don't know in detail what was revised. All we know is that they never sent the contract back and they've just been sitting on it. His lawyers has not responded to those revised contract. So now everybody is going at Bud because it's looking like he doesn't want to take the fight now. So Spence goes on he took the Twitter, right? He takes the Twitter. He's talking. He's like, yo, man, I could have had a fight in November. This guy is sitting. He's been sitting on this for a month, yada, yada. So he's tweeting. So everybody's going crazy again. And now it's like the most recent news, like literally maybe a couple hours ago, they're saying that they're working on a February 4th date for the two of them. Then I skipped out on all the Mayweather stuff. Like Mayweather said, he gave interviews basically saying that the fight doesn't happen without his say-so. Like, look, I don't really know what's going on. And my thing is to you guys, please, at this point, let this whole situation sink in and learn something from it. As a boxing fan, learn from it. Be patient and wait for the fight to go down. Stop always listening to these guys. I mean, we listen to all of them. I listen to all of them. The Mike Coppingers, the Mike Bensons, the Dan Raphael, who is the one that came out from and said that it's going to be a February 4th day. Dan Raphael, all these journalists take it, but understand you have to read. Is it agreement or is a fight done and scheduled with a date? You know, is it official or is it agreed, like verbally agreed? Like we're still waiting on a contract. That's what we heard in the beginning. Read these articles. They're actually telling you exactly what's going on. But when you hear it, I know as boxing fans, we get so excited and we think that it's done, and it's not done. So just be a little bit more mindful on how you receive the information. I don't know who to blame. You know why? Because we're not getting full details. We have a journalist that's giving us an article basically telling us, or a tweet, basically telling us this much about what's going on. And then we react off it. It's Spence's fault. It's Crawford's first. It's the PBC fault. It's all fake news until they give us something official. You know? So I'm not going to keep making videos. And this is another problem. And it's not just YouTubers, because it's people that's on social media, period. And it's also on mainstream media, boxing mainstream media. It's like the biases, you know? Like it's the biases, especially with the content creators. It's like, yo, when it's Spence's fault and a report is Spence's fault, you have the Spence supporters that's quick to jump and defend him. And the Dud fans is quick to jump and attack him. But when the article is saying now it's Bud's fault, it's a total opposite. But you notice, look at the source of where you're getting it from. How are they reporting it? Are they always just gonna, like, no matter what the scenario is, are they always gonna back that fighter no matter what they do? If that's the case, I don't even know how y'all keep going back to these sources. How do you go back when they only telling you one side of the story every time? You know why? Because what did I tell you guys? These boxing fans don't really want the fights. They rather, and I said this about this fight from jump, they rather have an excuse made on why the fight didn't happen. They don't really want the fight because a lot of these fans are not confident in the fighters that they like. And they would rather have an excuse of the opposing fighter on why they screwed up the fight instead of actually making a fight. You know what? We don't even need to see the fight no more because this guy ducked. No, we still need to see the fight. They could still make the fight. Maybe not right now, but it didn't work out now, but we can still get the fight. No, these fans don't really want the fight. And the fighters and the promoters and the networks and the media, they take advantage of us because they know how crazy we are. We're all over the place. We complain about something and then love it after. Look at Wilder and Fury 3. We complained about it until we got it and then we loved it. And I'm a victim to that. We all are. Complained about it and then got it and then was like, damn, yo, that was the best fight. You know? Not all of us, but many of us. You know what I'm saying? Like, even Joshua and Klitschko. Oh, Klitschko's in fight for a year, or he's been out the game. He lost to Fury and then hasn't fought. But then we got the fight, and it was a great fight. It was a classic. You know what I'm saying? So, look, man, when it comes to this Spence Crawford thing, when it comes to me, I'm waiting for the real news. Let me know when the fight is announced. Then I get hyped. But as far as these different dates, and it's Bud for, and Spence wants too much of this, and Al is messing up that. I mean, yo, do we even know if this is true? Do we even know if this is real? Mike Coppinger said it, so it must be true. Michael Benson said it, so it must be true. Dan Raphael said it, so it must be true. No, it's not true if the next week the news is totally different. Everybody got sources. Everybody got a million. Everybody predicted something to happen with this fight, and it keeps changing over and over again, over and over again. They said this date, now it's this day. It's this month, now it's this month. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, people love to jump and get hype when it fits their narrative. Like, if the news fit what they've been saying all this time, they'd be like, oh, I told y'all. But then when it doesn't the next week, they quiet. Oh, this is some bullshit. Like, yo, this is crazy. That's why I stay away from that. That's why I stay away from that. I'm waiting for the breakdown. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for, I'm waiting for, things to settle in for I can tell you how the fight is gonna go when it goes. I know you guys are leaving a lot of comments. Charles said I look fuzzy right now. I don't know. I mean, to me, it looks clear. I don't know. Let me know if your comments if the video quality is bad. If it is bad, I apologize. To me, it looks picture perfectly clear. But if it isn't to you, let me know. Because I don't know how I can fix that. But let me know in the comments if the video quality is bad. What's up? Forrest, I'm more of a Bud fan. I like Arrow too, but rather see the fight without pressure. I want to see them at their best. Yeah. I would like, let's see. I don't want to screw up the line. Like I wanna like reboot this, but I don't want to screw up. Maybe if I stop the camera for a little bit and then give me a second. Let me reboot the camera. Is it still fuzzy right now? Okay, it's better. All right, cool. All right, what's up, Punch Perfect? All right, so listen, I wanted to address that real quick, man. It's let's talk about. Let's move on, man. Fury and Chisora 3. Now, I was gonna try to. I didn't get around to listening to the press conference because one thing I'm interested in this fight is the presser. And I didn't get to watch it today. I saw a million clips of what these two said. The only thing I'm really interested in this fight is the presser, and I will go back and watch it, but I didn't have the time to do it today. I don't care about this fight, but I am better. I am happy that that is not Manuel Char. I didn't want Char to get a fight with Fury. I mean, I really feel like that's really at that level. Even if you're going to take a voluntary fight or a stay busy fight, I think that's really below Fury at this point. Again, if these fighters are going to fight 4 times a year, I get it. Give us a couple real tough fights, but if you just really like taking 1 or 2 fights a year, you just shouldn't be fighting Char. And at this point, Fury shouldn't be fighting Chisora neither. You already beat him twice. And the second time you stopped him. I remember watching the fight, I remember watching it live. And Chisora was just getting pummeled every single round. I haven't seen the first fight in a long time. But the second fight, I remember it just being very easy. I mean, Fury had improved dramatically. I believe this fight was like right before he fought Klitschko. It was just too easy for Fury for us to get a third fight. A third fight? Come on, man. And I like Del Boy, and I hope he wins. I do. I hope he shocks the world. But yo, Fury's already seen what he got, and and I don't think he's just too easy for Fury. His style is just not. It doesn't work for Fury. It just does not work. You know, Fury beat him so easily in that rematch and stopped him. We should not see another fight. What are we getting a trilogy for? You know, it just, oh man, it's just like, what is he doing? What is Tyson Fury doing? Yo, I've never seen a fighter contradict themselves as much as Tyson Fury. I mean, my man, what's going on, man? Like, this is crazy. This is crazy. The one thing that I'm not gonna complain too much because the one thing I will say, and I thought about this, and I thought about this when I was tweeting about this fight. The one thing I will say is that, listen, if we get undisputed next, then fine. You know, and it goes back to what I was saying about being patient. No, I don't want the Derek Chisora 3 fight. I don't want it. You know, and I do think it's better than the Char fight. You know, Chisora is still a good fighter. I think the problem really is I don't mind him fighting someone on Chisora's level. I don't feel like he was gonna fight Joyce or, you know, I wanted him to fight Joshua, but I kind of knew it wasn't gonna happen. The one thing I will say is if he does fight Usyk next and we do get undisputed next, then cool. You know, I knew he wanted to fight before going into the new year. You know, I knew he wanted to fight in between fighting the winner of Usyk and Joshua. That makes sense. You fought Dillian White like in April. So that's fair. I get it. That's fair. You know, Usyk just is fresh off the Joshua win. I don't think you're gonna want to wait another year to fight Usyk. You know, if you want to fight Usyk, you're gonna tune up. You know, get into a fight, but at least fight someone that would make a little bit more sense, like, you know, someone that is a southpaw or whatever. You already fought Otto Wallin, so I would say that would probably be the better go-to for a southpaw. But he already beat him. You know, Chisora really doesn't have anything in common with with uh with Chisora. But maybe just Fury just wants to stay. Maybe Fury just wants to stay, like, you know, prepared, you know, and ready to go. To be honest, I know Luis Ortiz just lost. I see you, Ralph. You said Charles Martin. I don't think so. I know Fury just lost. I mean, Ortiz just lost. But I was thinking Luis Ortiz simply because he's a southpaw, and um, you know, I just think that Ortiz was probably be a little bit more challenging than Chisora, you know, just because it's proven already. We already saw what Fury could do against Chisora. At least you fought someone, if you fight someone we never seen you fight before, it would have had that question mark like, all right, you know what? We never seen Ortiz in the ring with Fury. You know what I'm saying? And Ortiz, maybe not so much now, but at one point he was considered to be one of the most, excuse me, dangerous heavyweights, right? So that fight would have been cool, you know. But you know what? It's gonna be Chisora. I'm not hyped over it, but I do hope that Usyk is Steph. I'm not gonna rant and rave about it. Like, I'm not gonna rant and just be just going crazy. I mean, Fury does what Fury wants to do, you know. And I try to tell you guys, like, yo, it is what it is. If Fury's gonna do what he wants to do, he doesn't care how the public looks at it. He's gonna do what he wants to do. All right. All right. So that's it. That's all I have to say. You know, I mean, if they actually, you know, when the fight comes, I guess at some point I'll do a breakdown, but the breakdown is gonna be a real easy one. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember doing a breakdown for the rematch at some point. You know, the video is out there somewhere. All right. I got a lot of videos, old school like prediction videos, and I think one of them is out there floating around for the rematch between Fury and Chisora. And it was just too easy. Chisora being the aggressive fighter, trying to get low, you know, on his just wing throwing wide shots, and I don't think he's gonna get it done. It's nothing he can really do. But I do believe what I will say is that the fight should probably be a little bit more entertaining than the Dillian White fight. I hated that fight. That fight was just not a good fight. I don't even think Fury looked great in that fight. I just think that the styles didn't match up as well as I expected it to. All right. All right. So listen, I'm done. I just wanted to speak on Creed. Only because I saw the trailer and I was really hyped about it. And I don't know if I've ever talked to like about Rocky on this channel, but I'm a huge fan of the franchise. I'm a huge fan of Rocky. Like, I don't think the Rocky films are like the best boxing films, but it's so much nostalgia. I grew up watching it, and if it's on TV, I can't turn the channel. It doesn't matter which Rocky is on, even the ones that I don't like. Well, if Balboa is on, I'll turn it. I don't like watching Balboa. The one part about Balboa that I like is the speech that Rocky gives his son in the movie, which is like a great speech. It's on YouTube. It's a great motivational speech. But even if Rocky 1 through 5 is on, I I never turn away from it. And 5 was not good, but I still stuck on it because I love the story. You know, Balboa just did not give me. That's the one with Antonio Tarver. It just did not give me that feel of a Rocky film. You know what I'm saying? Um. So with that being said, I love this franchise. I love the Creed movies, especially the first one. All right. I saw the trailer the other day, and I've been thinking, and I thought it was just gonna be like Clubber Lang's son. Clubber is the guy that played by Mr. T in the third film. I thought it was gonna be Clubber Lang's son. Not saying that it's not, but in the trailer, it seemed like his opponent, the villain in this movie, is his opponent, is someone that he grew up with, who did time. They both got arrested as juvies, and the villain did time, whereas Adonis Creed, who was Apollo Creed's son, was out and he went on to have the successful boxing career, right? So he pops up and, I guess they get close again, they bond, they're catching up, but he's in boxing shape, right? He stays in shape. And out of nowhere, he's at the top and they are going to fight at the end. They have beef, and you can see the tension between the teams and the camps, and you see all that in the trailer. I like that the character is someone original. I didn't like the whole idea of Clubber's son because I didn't want it to be just like, it felt like just a bunch of Rocky Juniors. We got Drago Jr. already. Let's get Clubber Jr. I didn't want it to keep continuing that path. Not saying that there could be some twist. There could be some type of twist in the film, whereas maybe he is Clubber's son and they just don't tell us, or maybe he doesn't know he's Clubber's son. We find out at some point leading up towards the big fight at the end. So don't sleep on that. And remember, I said that if you are gonna watch the movie. Andrew said the fighters in the trailer look like they on the same stuff Conor Bennett's on. Yeah, they look jacked up in that. Michael B. Jordan, I forgot the name of the other actor, the other lead actor. He's such a good actor too. I like his movies. He was in a Loki series. All right. But yeah, I love the Rocky franchise and I'm excited to see this movie. I don't think the Creed 2 film hit as good as the first one did. It wasn't bad. But being that I'm a big fan, and I always, depending on which day you ask me, I have a different view in the order of how I like them as far as them being my favorite. Um, I love the first one because it was just so gritty. It was just a regular film. Rocky wasn't Jack yet. He was just some random dude. Apollo was the champion. He was a star. It just shows you how Rocky was broke, how he came up, how he met Adrian. I love the first one. The second one, I love the second one more because it was just more hyped up for the rematch. And the rematch, I think the rematch between Rocky and Apollo might have been the best actual fight, in my opinion. You know, uh, I love the way the fight between them was. It was just so good. I think the suspense and stuff, like you kind of felt like Rocky was gonna win, but the way the fight was going was it's real. I love watching the fight. I mean, and the fights are, it's like they're stupid movies, really, but I love them, man, because it just brings me back to a different time. It reminds me of when I was watching uh Gordon Berry's Last Dragon, like last week. I was watching it last week, and that's like a top 10 like all-time favorite film to me because it brings me back from that time of when I was a kid. I used to watch that movie like every day. I used to watch that all the time, like with Bruce Leroy and Show Enough. I used to watch that all the time, all of the time. Like that was one of my, and I still was like living in Harlem and I was living in the Bronx when that movie, I don't even know when it came out, but I grew up watching it. It's not a good film, but just it brings you back to a time, you know what I'm saying, that you remember the nostalgia of it. And the same thing with Rocky. Rocky used to be always on TV, and they still show all 4 or 5 movies. They always have a marathon with Rocky, and you get trapped and stuck. You know how many times I got stuck watching Rocky all day? And I don't think they're the best boxing films. Rodis just said best boxing film is Raging Bull. Raging Bull is a great movie. The Fighter is a great movie. What's the other one? Cinderella Man. There's so many good boxing films out there, but none of them makes me like when I enjoy Rocky for a reason, and it's because I grew up watching it so much that when I get trapped into it, you know. But the Creed movies are done well. They're a very good movie. The story, the way they did right into the story, it was so good, and especially the first Creed. The first Creed was really, really good. I think the only thing, and please, yes, everybody smash, hit the thumbs up if you are here. Shout out to you, Brandon. Thank you. Appreciate that like, man. If what was I saying? The only thing I didn't like about the Creed film was Tony Bellew. I think he was like Pretty Ricky Conlon or something. The only thing that I didn't like about that is him. And it's not because he was a bad actor. It's just that it was nothing about him that stood out. He was just in the movie. He's the guy. I thought they should have kept Wheeler, who was Andre Ward character, as the villain. Only because that whole scene when he knocks out Creed in the gym and takes his keys, I thought that was a better buildup than whatever they did with Tony Bellew. Tony Bellew just wasn't a believable villain to me. And he's going to be in Creed 3 if you look at the trailer. He's going to be in there. I guess Adonis Creed is going to have his rematch with Tony Bellew, which is what they basically did with Andre Ward in the second film. All right. I wish they kept Andre Ward as the main guy in the first one because there was already history made. I think they screwed it up once Andre Ward got replaced because the fight in the press conference, I thought that was corny. That's the only thing I disliked about the first movie. Everything else, from it being in Philly, I love Philly. Philly is great. It reminded me being there when I, go there for certain weekends. I love Philly. I like, how Rocky and his story. I like the girl. I liked everything. The second one, again, the reason why the only complaint I have in the Creed film so far is the villains. I felt the tension between Drago and Rocky when they faced each other again in that second Creed film. But I didn't feel it with his son, Victor Drago, I believe. I just didn't get it. I get the look. He was very big and muscular. But when you saw Drago back then, it was just like, man, that was Dolph Lundgren. Like He-Man, The Punisher, Universal Soldier. Like, I mean, if you were a kid back then, he was just like on TV. He was just like he wasn't Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he was like one step below that. Like he was a top dude back then. You know what I'm saying? And Drago, and even though he barely spoke in that movie, and it was like a stupid movie because all they're doing is punching, is no defense. It's just they just you can literally punch each other 1,000 times in that fight, and there's no slipping or nothing. It's just two dudes, just but it was all about the Cold War thing, Russia against America and stuff like that. Those that feeling that Drago did, the pressure and the how intense it was when Apollo died. Same thing with the third fight with Clubber Lang. Clubber was so disrespectful, and I love how they dipped into how the ducking part. Like, I've been your number one contender. You don't even know about me. They've been your team, your coach, your handlers has been making you avoid me because they know I'm better than you. I love that whole Clubber Lang. Clubber Lang might have been the best villain because he was a real villain. He was disrespectful. And Mr. T overall just had the gift of gab. Remember, he was in wrestling and stuff. He was in other shows. He was on old school shows. So Mr. T in plenty of movies. Mr. T was probably the best villain because he just knew how to talk, and he had that look. He was big, he was strong. He was just a bull. You know what I'm saying? I've had these conversations with people. Icky-san asked, Drago versus Clubber, who wins? I always said, in my opinion, even though I think Clubber, as far as just character in a movie, I thought he was the best villain. But I always thought that Drago was by far the strongest. There's no one that they showed us that was more better than Drago. And only because Drago was juiced all the way up. Drago was juiced up. Clubber wouldn't have beaten him. Clubber, to be honest, in the second fight with Rocky, he wasn't even really that good. He got beat pretty easily by Rocky in the second fight. I also believe that Apollo probably would have beat Clubber. I think I don't think Clubber beat Rocky because Rocky was never a good boxer until he lost to Clubber. I think if Clubber had fought Apollo, I think Creed would have beat him. Because Clubber wasn't really that good of a boxer neither. He was just bigger and stronger than Rocky. But I think guys like Drago was bigger than him, stronger than him. And I think Rocky, improved as a boxer. And then Apollo Creed was just, he's basically Muhammad Ali. This character was based on Muhammad Ali. And it seemed like Rocky's character was based off Joe Frazier. Just even the styles and the way they moved. If you watch Rocky 2, you go back and watch Frazier and Ali, you will see that the fight was based on how that fight was going. No, they're not real heavyweights, though. I mean, Dolph Lundgren was, but Rocky was not a heavyweight at all. You saw when the Hulk Hogan fight. So anyway, I'm looking forward to the movie. I'm very hyped up. It's been a while since I even talked about a movie on here. I used to do movie reviews on here too sometimes. People have been asking me on a low to start going back to doing that, and maybe I will when I have extra time. But yeah, I think Creed 3 looks good, man. I think this one, I'm excited for this one because they look like they got a character is very good actor, and they might have him like as a really good villain. That's all I'm really hoping for. I already know that they're gonna go do good with the movie itself, you know. And another thing, I wonder if Rocky is still in the movie. Is Sylvester Stallone going to be in the movie? They didn't show him in the trailer, so you know, did he pass away? You know, we know that Adrian passed away. I don't want to give away too much because some of you probably never seen the Creed movies. Uh, yeah, I like when Clubber. I see you, Nelly. Nelly says, I like when Clubber told Rocky, "Don't give that fool a statue. Give him guts." I love that line. I like when Clubber. My favorite line is it when he approached Rocky out by the statue and he was like, "Hey woman, hey woman, hey woman." It's like, I know you go to sleep at night dreaming about having a real man. You know what's funny? Rocky was so chill up until that point. After that, that's when he lost it. But up to that point, he was mad chill. Like he wasn't even mad or nothing. He was just chilling. That part was the funniest part. He's like, "Yeah, I know you dream about. How about this? Come over to my apartment later on tonight." Yo, Clubber was the best villain. I don't think he was the best fighter, but I thought he was the best villain out by far. It's not even close. He's the best villain. I thought Apollo Creed was the most realistic villain because Apollo was thinking like a fighter that just didn't want to quit. They were trying to tell him, like, yo, don't take this fight with Rocky because I've never seen a fighter just keep coming at you. That's why I love The Genius. I know people like the other boxing movies, but I still believe that this, they brought a lot of real parts of like actual boxing into the movie. You know, I love Apollo's character because they showed a guy that's been on top for so long, and they show like how he transitioned and he had his ego and he just wouldn't let it go, and that's what got him killed in the fourth fight. Um, yeah, the guy's all wrong for you, chap. It's just so many quotes. I posted the other day on Twitter. I was like, I posted the clip of when Apollo goes up and to Clubber and to shake his hand, and Clubber slaps his arm away. He's like, "Get out here, you has been. I want you over here messing up my corner." It's like, you better stop looking at me like that before I slap that look off your face. Come on, Creed, come on. The part when they show his face when he say, "Come on, Creed," is the funniest part, yo. That is the funniest part of the movie outside of the Hey Woman part. He's like, come on, Creed," and Creed just looking at him, but he can't do nothing about it because he can't fight him right there on the spot. Yo, I was laughing, yo. I always laugh at that part. I always like rewind it a few times because it's the funniest part, yo. Damn, y'all really bringing back like great points, great moments, yo. Rocky is a classic franchise. Even the fifth one, even though I didn't like it that much, it just it was clearly Don King, Mike Tyson, you know, and Tommy was just getting pimped. Like, you know, you had the fake Don King guy, and you had the girl that he was with that was basically it. They took a lot of pieces from real boxing and put it into a movie. That's all they did, you know. Whereas a lot of these other movies, like The Raging Bull or like The Fighter, they take real stories and they're basically like a film based on a real story, Hurricane, you know, whatever. All of these movies are real movies from real fighters, whereas this movie here was more based on just them pulling from real characters, real fighters, real coaches, and putting it all in one movie. And in Rocky Five, you know, Rocky Five wasn't that good because it wasn't like the traditional villain. It went into how he, you know, his family, his brother, like, you know, made him messed up all the money and how they had to go back to the streets of Philly and live back, and they were broke. Them, you know, they show how the strained relationship that Rocky had with his son in the very beginning because he was putting all his time into Tommy, and not putting it into his son. And you saw that in the Balboa film, how they just was never close. Even in the Creed, because I think there's a moment where Rocky does go visit his son. So I think the movies they're hard not to turn. I always watch them when they're on. I can't help it. I can't help it. And if I'm not watching it on TV, I'm watching it on my phone. Like I'm looking at a certain clip, you know? Yeah, Apollo was simply Muhammad Ali. I absolutely. I said that earlier, So uh I didn't like the Balboa film. It's my least favorite. I thought Tarver was my least favorite villain out of everyone. But I will say that Rocky Balboa film had the best motivational speech that I've probably have ever heard. Where Rocky goes off on his son, his privileged son in the street. I think that speech was probably the best speech one of the best speeches I've ever heard in any film. And if you haven't seen that, you can just Google, Rocky's speech to his son. It's on YouTube. It's one of the best, most realistic. People need to hear that because it's a real life, especially if you actually going through it. There's people that work out to that shit. Like it's that hard, you know. Rocky 5, yeah, it just wasn't that good. I did like the street fight at the end. I think my favorite moment in that movie that I remember is when Tommy not punches Paulie in the bar right at the end, and Rocky looks up. He had that same look in his eyes that he had against Drago when he killed Apollo, and he was like, "Okay, you knocked him down. Why don't you try knocking me down?" And Rocky at this time, he's bumming it like he got the dad hat on. He got the sleeves rolled up, like he's hood Rocky again. And I think that scene is, I'm a real Rocky fan, clearly. I'm a real hardcore, like, it's just like, I could just remember certain points in the films like that. That scene to me, like, I was like, oh shit, you pissed off Rocky. You done messed up at this point. You know what I'm saying? So I love the franchise. I'm a big fan, and I'm a big fan of Creed. Especially the first one. The first one had its own. The first one was a classic because it gave you it's a newer vibe. And I think the best part of the Apollo Creed, a Creed film. I'm sorry, the first one was I think the Gay Rosado fight is very underrated because it's a one take fight. That whole fight is one take. They do the whole fight without cutting it. That was incredible. Not the Tony Bellew fight. I didn't care for the Tony Bellew fight like that. That fight with Gay Rosado was great. I like that, and I like the Andre Ward. When he shows up to the gym, when Creed shows up, I like that shit. I thought that was good. I like that. Music is very important. Yes. You can't forget the classic Rocky 3 training video. All right. When he's with Apollo and he's preparing for Clubber and he's showing you, his footwork, how he's getting lighter on his feet. Apollo's teaching him how to actually box. But Rocky 4 is my favorite. Rocky 4 is my personal favorite. I don't get that feel from Creed, but Creed has his own spin. Rocky 4, when he's driving the Easy Way Out song, when he's driving the Lamborghini, I love that scene, yo. You know how many times I watched that scene like on YouTube just to watch it? That is like I think that movie, I don't even know if it was born yet, but it feels like I watched it when it came out, but I didn't. Because I've been watching it so long. I've been watching it all my life. Those scenes like that is what made me get into cars. Like I'm a big car buff, so I love that scene. I love that Lamborghini, that whole stick shift. It was fire. And then when he trains for Drago at the end, You see Drago getting juiced up. He got all this technology around them that look crazy. Even if you watching in 2022, it just the way the gym that they had for Drago, the way they had it set up, it's like they built like he was just like a mutant. They basically built him. They created him. And you saw Drago punching the machine, juicing up, and you saw Rocky just out in the snow doing it the old-fashioned way, axing logs and shit. He's pulling sleds and he's doing sit-ups and he's doing all this stuff. It's those movies are. I'm sorry, again, I know there are better boxing films, but those movies are like they're so hard. It's like one of my favorite franchises. My favorite 3 franchises of all time that I rewatch as much I cannot stop watching is Rocky, Terminator, and Matrix. Terminator 2 is my favorite film of all time. I cannot stop watching that movie. I need to watch it every couple months. I've probably seen Terminator 2 at least like 200 times. Like I watch that shit religiously. Terminator 1 too. I know the other ones are not that good, but I still watch them. Except 3. I hate 3. I can't watch Terminator 3. And The Matrix. I don't watch the new one that recently came out. I watched it once. I can't watch that again. But the first 3, especially Reloaded, when that came out, I watched Matrix Reloaded in the movie theater 4 times. 4 times. And the first Matrix I watched like twice. So those are my favorite 3. I would say Rocky, Matrix, and Terminator. I can't stop watching. I just cannot stop watching those movies. Anyway, I'm on here later than when I said I was going to go. I'm going to go get some food, man. I had a good night with you guys, man. I love doing videos where we can just talk about like anything, man. I got to do more videos like this, man. Just talking. When I saw the Creed trailer, I was like, man, I'm going to just make a video just talking about Rocky. I don't know how people feel. Because, you got a lot of real boxing fans that hate those movies, or real boxers hate those movies. But, I love that franchise. I just got to do it. All right. How to do it. But anyway, I'll definitely do more videos talking about films because I could talk about movies all day. One thing I could talk about outside of boxing, one thing I could talk all day about is films and cars. I love cars. All right. Anyway, I'm out of here. Y'all have a good night, man. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.